Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees sweep the Detroit Tigers at Yankee Stadium. So the Yankees improved to 23-13. And, coming off that 4-game set loss to the Orioles, where they lose 3 out of 4 at Baltimore, it's nice to get the sweep against a Tiger team that, look, when it's all said and done, I wouldn't expect them to make the playoffs, but they're not that bad. And they really have pretty good pitching. And the Yankees, it was ugly to start, very ugly, but they were able to get big hits when they had to. A really key ninth-inning rally in the first game kind of catapulted them through the rest of the series. And, yeah, they win all 3, which was big. And, look, the Orioles, they swept the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati, so it's not as if the Yankees got any closer, but it still makes it important to, hold serve and to stay there because chances are this is going to be, the AL East likely will be between the Orioles and the Yankees. That would be my guess. Not to say that the other 3 teams aren't capable, but I think that that's, not going out on a hunch. And, yeah, I think that the Orioles showed that right now, because a lot can change, and obviously we know that from the Yankee side, Garrett Cole's out. Aaron Judge is, not himself, although this was a series in the right direction for sure. Really was. So, Yankees win all 3 against Detroit. The last game actually ended up being called before the full 9 innings. In the middle of the 8th, there was a rain delay for a little less than an hour, and they just called it. So the Yankees, with their rain shortened, but they were likely going to win anyway, but they win 5-2. But, yeah, game 1, they don't score for 8 innings. He only had 2 singles through 8 innings versus Tiger pitching. And then the 9th inning, a really nice rally all the way around from Judge to Verdugo to Stanton to Rizzo. And then when you look at game 2 and 3, you get pretty good pitching by the Yanks, definitely, and a couple of big hits. It was the Rizzo threw-run homer in game 2 and the Soto threw-run double late in game 3. So it was a lot of the bigger players stepping up for the Yankees, and within that, Aaron Judge was good, very good. And he actually got ejected in game 2 by Ryan Blaney. It was his first ejection of his career. Definitely a quick hook. I mean, there was just no need for that. I mean, Judge wasn't trying to show him up. He's done that before, and he just wasn't having it. And so that was, a first for him. And, I don't think I'd expect to see that happen too often. He didn't really lose his cool. He had some things to say, and he was ejected. So, hey, but Judge responded to that really well in game 3. I'll tell you that much. So, as far as any transactions, there was one that comes to mind immediately, and that was John Birdie being activated from the IL. I think that officially took place before game 2, and he started game 3 and actually did get a hit. And look good. So good to have him back. And Taylor Trammell was designated for assignment. I think Nick Birdie's not too far away. He's starting a rehab assignment. So when he comes back, expect Michael Tonkin to be the one that is designated for assignment. I suppose there's always a chance that Ron Marinaccio gets sent down, but Tonkin to me would be more likely. But we'll see if and when that even happens. But game 1 was between Reese Olson, who is pretty good. Olson, he pitched well, and then Marcus Stroman for the Yankees. And for Stroman, it was kind of a classic Stroman outing, where he only allows 1 run in 5 1/3 innings, but a lot of base runners, 5 walks, way too many, obviously. Only 3 hits, and you'll take it every time. 1 run in 5 1/3. But, yeah, so with Stroman, the ERA 3.41, definitely will take that. The whip is high. I think it's over 1.4. So this was a better start for Stroman than we've seen, but just overall, he hasn't been quite sharp. The way he pitches, he tries to be pinpoint. He tries to be kind of fine. And if the hitters are laying off it, that is going to lead to games where Stroman is prone to base on balls. And it's not so much like wildness. It's just, if he's not getting the calls from the umps, and again, if there's patience by the other team, he will not he doesn't want to throw it in the heart of the plate. That's going to lead to this. So, but ultimately, he was a positive in this game and really kept the Yankees in it. But let's talk about this one. So Verdugo back to the cleanup spot, and I agree with that. So Verdugo, where he came back on Thursday versus the Orioles, and they put him, they had Rizzo above him. This time it's Verdugo. I would stick with that. No wholesale lineup changes that I can think of. It's really a matter of when it seems like when they face righties, it'll be Verdugo, Stanton, Rizzo, Gleyber 4 through 7, and then versus lefties, it would be more likely to be Stanton. Although, I guess there's a caveat there because Rizzo didn't start game 3. And to be honest with you, I don't think that they would put Rizzo batting 7th. So I don't know exactly what would happen versus lefties. So TBD there. And also, it's kind of interesting because Rizzo looked really good. He did have a walk-off hit in game 1, which was kind of more fortunate than anything. But game 2 looked really locked in. And then they didn't start him in game 3. But, hey, he had played for a while. They won anyway. Hopefully Rizzo doesn't lose the hot streak, I guess. That'd be the only thing. But yeah, Yankees only mustered up a couple of singles. It was won by Volpe early on and Gleyber as well. And that was it against Olsen. And then Tiger picked relievers after that did the job too. Alex Fido, Andrew Chafin, Shelby Miller. But then they eventually get to Jason Foley, the Tiger closer, who had been really, really good possible that struggles have been happening for him, but he was doing very good at one point. But now I look at that whip, it's pretty high, although a lot of it probably had to do with the Yankee game where he allows 4 base runners and gets no one out. But yeah, in going through kind of the play-by-play, not a whole lot going on offensively in this one until let's just jump all the way to the 6th. Let's just go to the 6th inning. And that's where for Stroman, he kind of loses it. And there's a lot of walks in the mix. Leadoff single for Riley Green, who's going to be a really good player. Already is. So Green, very impressive. And he's a highly touted prospect. So this is no surprise. But the Tiger lineup, it's not so great, but he definitely is going to be helpful in their rebuild. But anyway, Wenzel Perez walks with 1 out, and then Kerry Carpenter walks. So bases loaded, 1 out, and it's a bases loaded walk to break the scoreless tie for Colt Keith. And that is all for Stroman. Ian Hamilton comes on, and Hamilton, who has struggled previously and did struggle in game 3, this was the one spot. This was the best that Hamilton had looked in a while. He comes up big here as he strikes out Spencer Torkelson, and he gets Zach McKinstry to ground out. So where this game could have maybe gone off the rails, Hamilton is able to save Stroman and the Yanks, and it stays 1-0. Let's go to the top of the 7th, where Hamilton does get into some trouble. Allows a couple of singles, gets a couple of outs, and Victor Gonzalez comes on, walks Perez, but then Matt Vierling as a pinch hitter grounds out. So another chance for the Tigers to get that big hit. They don't do it. Good job by Gonzalez. And so it stays 1-0. Then, I guess, let's go to the 7th. Double play ground balls have been such a bad thing for the Yanks, and it reared its ugly head again in game 1 where they had a couple of double plays again. I mean, I think leaving the series, they probably still lead baseball. Around 40 double plays, maybe a little bit more than that. So that's a problem that they got to fix for sure. And Gleyber Torres against Andrew Chafin hits a double play. So there was a couple of walks in that inning, Verdugo and Rizzo, and Gleyber with that DP. Let's go to the 9th inning. So Dennis Santana pitches a scoreless 9th. He would end up getting the win because in the bottom of the 9th, Aaron Judge, who really needed it, gets a leadoff single. And it wasn't really hit overly, well, I guess it was hit pretty hard, but it was also a place where it needed to be. But Judge, to get that going, him specifically, was great. And then I think my favorite at bat of the inning was the next one. Alex Verdugo lays down a bunt single. He saw he had space on that left side of the infield, and he kind of squared earlier in that bat, and then he lays it down on a 2-1 count, and it's an easy single. And then Giancarlo Stanton, who the fans were going to be ready to boo him. He had struck out the 3 times previous to that at bat. He was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. But Stanton, who we've seen He can come up with the big at bat. That's the thing. Like, even when he's in a funk or whatever, Giancarlo, over the years at the Yankees, like, there's been big hits, and this was one of them. Absolutely scalds 115.9 miles per hour off the bat, opposite field double for Giancarlo Stanton to tie it up at 1 and to put the Yankees in position to win the game. And then Anthony Rizzo with the infield in. And that was important because if the infield wasn't in, and this is a normal play, this is a ground out, but Rizzo makes contact and gets it past the drawn-in infield, past the second baseman, and gets the walk-off hit. It's a walk-off RBI single for Rizzo that stores Verdugo. It's Rizzo's second walk-off hit as a Yankee, and they win 2-1. I mean, that went from really – and hey, they had already lost 3-4 to the Orioles. Like, vibes were not high. And going to ninth inning, they were looking at a shutout against the Tigers at home, but they're able to get that. That was a really big swing. If there's a turning point in the series, that's exactly where it was. And so they win that first game, and they are able to really carry that into, I would say, the next couple of games. Certainly the next one, offensively, it was a better showing. Look, it's not as if the Yankees went crazy. They scored 5 runs on Saturday, 5 runs on Sunday, but that's still pretty good. And the pitching matchup for game 2 was Casey Mize against Clark Schmidt. So for Schmidt, not a great outing, but not bad. Like, it was kind of a typical Clark outing. He goes at least 5 innings. He goes 5 innings, just the 5, and gives up 3 runs. But he got some help as far as run support was concerned. So I do like the no walk, 7 strikeouts for sure. Although Schmidt did have a couple of hit by pitches, to be fair. But yeah, he's got a 3.5 ERA. And again, like, I'll take that. I'll definitely take that. So he's been solid, Schmidt. He's 3-1 on the season and, does what he has to do. And the Yankees are able to get to Casey Mize, who, going into the series was certainly the weakest of the 3. I mean, Tariq Skubal definitely the best for sure, but Mize, he's hittable. He was a top prospect, and I think there's still promise for him. But he goes 5 1/3, 9 hits, 5 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So how this one goes down, and I guess I should mention that in game 1 it was Wells, and then games 2 and 3 Trevino, as far as the catcher position is concerned. So the Tigers actually score first, and again, Schmidt gives up a leadoff homer. He did it against Gunnar Henderson in that Oriole game. And then Riley Green, his 8th homer of the year. So first batter, Tigers make it 1-0. But the Yankees respond in the bottom of the first. It's a 2-out rally. Judge starts it again. It was actually kind of very similar to that 9th inning. Judge single. Verdugo, an infield single, kind of a swinging bunt single for Verdugo. And then Stanton lashes one to right. This one being an RBI single because it was hit so hard it goes off the wall. So weirdly similar. And that ties it up at 1. Let's go to the bottom of the third. And this is the Yankees breaking, this is their big inning. Leadoff walk Volpe, single Soto. Then you get an RBI double by Judge down the left field line, makes it 2-1. However, after that, it got a little bit dicey. Verdugo ground out, no advance, Stanton strikeout. But Anthony Rizzo bails them out with a big, no doubt about it, 3-run homer. His 6th homer of the year makes it 5-1. That was really big by Rizzo. In the 4th inning, the Tigers would respond with a couple runs of their own. An RBI triple for Matt Vierling and then a sac fly for Colt Keith. So Clark, not able to get the shutdown inning, makes it 5-3, although, again, Schmidt gets through 5, and he's in line for the win, which he would get. We go to the 6th inning, Caleb Ferguson with a little bit of struggles, a 1-out walk to Kerry Carpenter, and then a single by Matt Vierling. So Ferguson's out at that point, and then Luke Weaver comes on. Luke Weaver has been, besides Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver's been the best pitcher in the Yankee bullpen, and I hope that his role continues to grow and improve because he deserves it. Weaver has been just reliable, throwing strikes, getting outs, and yeah, for me, like, if it were a thing, I think he should be ahead of Ian Hamilton. If that were a discussion, I know their roles are a little bit different, but that would be my preference. But anyway, Andy Ibanez pinch hits for Colt Keith, and what does Luke Weaver do? He strikes him out, and then Torkelson flies out. So it's interesting that Weaver gets out of this jam here where Hamilton is unable to do so in game 3. But we'll talk about that. Score remains 5-3. 7th inning, it's more. Well, I guess I should mention in the 6th is where. No, sorry, not in the 6th. I jumped the gun there. 1-2-3 inning for Weaver in the top of the 7th. It's the bottom of the 7th where Ryan Blakeney ejects Aaron Judge. So pretty crazy stuff. Fans were not happy about it. So Trent Grisham would replace Judge in the game. But then in the 8th inning, Weaver gets a couple of strikeouts. There was a single mixed in. But yeah, Weaver ends up going 2 1/3 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. We've seen a lot of that lately. Multi-innings, no runs, and a very impressive walk-to-strikeout ratio within that time. It feels like 2 lately. So yeah, his numbers are great, and his whip is really low. It's around 0.7 or so, which is great. So 9th inning, Clay Holmes is going for the 4-out save. Matt Vierling strikes out looking in the 8th. And I will say this about Clay Holmes. He does get lucky and he's been so good, but where he gets a lot of called strikes that are balls. And I think in part it's because it's so hard to read, the hitter and the ump. Anyway, 9th inning, leadoff single Andy Ibanez, but then a quick double play of Spencer Torkelson. And then he strikes out Zach McKinstry to end it. So Clay Holmes continues what has been a near perfect season for him. And so the Yankees clinched the series at that point. And now they go for the sweep in game 3. An ugly weather game. Tons of rain, but they play through it. And I think under different circumstances, I don't know if they would have. But because of the fact it was the last game of the series, for scheduling reasons, it was one they definitely wanted to get in. And they did. But it was Tariq Skubal versus Nestor Cortez. A really good pitcher's duel, actually. And Skubal, makes a couple of mistakes early, and it bites him. And he would end up with a no decision. Skubal, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, and 12 strikeouts. He is very impressive. And so the Yankees to win a game in which he pitched is good. And Nestor Cortez pitched very well. He kind of ran out of gas at the end, and then it was, Hamilton kind of screwed him over a little bit. But Nestor, the line's still good. 6 1/3, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. So with Nestor, really, really distinct splits. He has been much better at home than on the road. It's something to consider. Way, way better. So, his best starts have been at home. So, Yankees take the lead early. It would be a day off for Rizzo. Birdie comes in the lineup. He starts at 3rd, and Oswaldo Cabrera starts at 1st. In thinking about it, and they must have mentioned it at some point, this was probably the first start at first base for Oswaldo. I know we've seen him before come in at end of games to play first base, but I don't think he's ever started there. So anyway, yeah. Yankees take the lead early, and it's Aaron Judge. So his first at-bat after getting ejected, Judge with an opposite field homer. And he's looking better. I know I've said it a lot, but he really is starting to lock in. Batting average is up to 220, OPS 789. It's getting there. It is. And he homers, 7th homer of the year, makes it 1-0. 2nd inning, Yankees get a little bit of a rally, a 1-out single for Gleyber Torres, then a single for John Birdie, who kind of just dunked it into right field. 1st and 3rd, 2 out. Jose Trevino strikes out. But Oswaldo Cabrera, unlucky because you wish it wasn't a ground rule double. You wish it was just a regular double because it probably would have scored Birdie, but it is an RBI ground rule double. And for Oswaldo, the numbers are dropping. But although he does not come through later on in the game in a big spot, but generally speaking, he has 19 RBIs. And so, he's batting 250, which is actually not bad. Considering where baseball is these days, 250 batting average actually isn't so bad. But, he's down to 682 OPS. He's not walking a whole lot. Generally speaking, but his stats are worse, but yet he seems to be coming up big in the big moments, and I like that a lot. Volpe then flies out 10th inning. So with Volpe, the numbers are dropping a lot. So he's down to 252, and his OPS is 714. So I don't know how much it's been talked about among Yankee universe, but yeah, Volpe, I'm not saying to move him or anything out of leadoff spot. You can leave him there, but he definitely has dropped off for sure. So the Yankees have a 2-0 lead, and then not a whole lot of offense to speak of. Games kind of moving through pretty quickly, and Skubal does a very impressive job. Bottom of the 6th, leadoff double Judge, then he strikes out Stanton, Verdugo, and Torres to end his day. 7th inning, Nestor finally runs out of a little bit of gas. It's a leadoff single for Mark Canha and then a one-out single for Jake Rogers. So Ian Hamilton comes on. First and second, 1 out, 2-run game. 7th inning. So it was very similar to the situation where Weaver came in the day before, except that had been the 6th inning. But here, it's a double, RBI double for Spencer Torkelson down the line. So that makes it 2-1. That's off of Hamilton. Then a walk to Colt Keith. And then he almost did the job, but Javier Baez hits it too slowly. So what tried to be a 6-4-3 double play, the field conditions weren't good, so it really needed to be hit hard to happen. And so it's an RBI ground up for Baez, makes it 2-2. And then they bring in Victor Gonzalez, so kind of like what Gonzalez did in Game 1, really key bases loaded spot. He's able to get Kerry Carpenter ground out. So that can't be, that was a key spot for Gonzalez. Bottom of the 7th is where the Yankees really get it done. Shelby Miller comes on. It's a 4-pitch walk to John Birdie. Then a great piece of hitting. Hit and run. Birdie is running. Trevino goes the other way. You love to see that. Makes it 1st and 3rd, no out. Perfect. Then as well, Cabrera strikes out, unfortunately. Not a great at-bat there, but hey, he did well early in the game. Then Volpe walks. So, you know what? As much as Volpe's been struggling, that was a key walk because then what happens is Andrew Chafin, the lefty, comes on to face Juan Soto, and there's no one else you'd want up in that situation. Bases loaded, 1 out. Doesn't matter that it's lefty-lefty. Soto gets a bases-clearing 3-run double. Makes it 5-2. And so for Soto, he has just been so good. Runners in scoring position, he's been at like 440. Like, it's just, he's been advertised and almost better. He just good stuff for Soto. 28 RBIs in the year for Juan. And then makes it 5-2. And that was the big hit of the game. Yankees would not score in the rest of the inning, and so they had a chance to make it more than that, but don't. Weather is really starting to get worse and worse. Dennis Santana comes on, which would actually end up being a save. We didn't know it at the time, but he comes on in the 8th inning and gets the job done. And Santana has been pretty good for the Yanks. He's definitely been pretty relied upon in that bullpen. So, yeah, it's a scoreless 8th inning. They put the tarp on the field in the middle of the 8th, and that's all she wrote. And the Yankees win it 5-2 in a rain-shortened game. And they get the sweep. So they're 23-13 on the season. It's a high watermark for the Yankees as they are 10 above 500. And now they will take on the Astros, who have continued to spiral. After the Yankees got that initial 4-game sweep in Houston to start the season, hasn't gotten really any better for the Astros. They sit at 12-22. So, it would be amazing to sweep them. It would be, but just winning 2 out of 3 would be nice at home. I mean, look, it's a very winnable series. But look, the Astros on paper, it's still a good team. Like that lineup, I don't know. I would not count them out, but they have been really bad. I mean, no, there's no doubt about that. So let's talk about the pitching matchups. Justin Verlander versus Luis Seal. Now, this one out of all of them, Verlander, of course, has had a lot of success against the Yankees, and he's really, since he's come back from injury this year, he's looked good, Verlander. But what I'll say is Luis Seal stepped up big time against Corbin Burns. And so now it's another matchup against one of the premier starters in the league. And even though Verlander is very much up there in age, he's still really good. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Heel can do, kind of with that attitude of, hey, I'm going against another team's ace. What can be done? So Verlander versus Heel. Game 2 on paper favors the Yankees. It is rookie Spencer Arrighetti for the Astros versus Carlos Rodon. So Rodon will hope to bounce back after a subpar outing versus the Orioles. And then Game 3, not going to be easy because it'll be for the Astros, Ronel Blanco, who's been a nice story this year. He's had a nice season for the Astros versus Marcus Stroman, who it's been a bit uneven for him, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that'll wrap up the homestand, off to a 3-0 start, which is good. And, yeah, hoping to continue the success. So they're done with the Astros very early this year. I mean, early May. And that's it for the Astros. I'm sure they'll be looking to exact some revenge after really a tone setter in a negative way for the Astros back in late March. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But hopefully the Yankees can, get the offense going. I mean, last couple of games have been a little more encouraging. But, the pitching can certainly use the help. And, yeah, but the biggest thing is, like, Aaron Judge looking a lot better. Anthony Rizzo looking a lot better. And that will really make things a lot easier for this lineup. So, yeah, Yankees are able to get it done. They sweep the Detroit Tigers, and now they will face the Houston Astros as this homestand continues.